My name is Julia, and I'm joined by my colleagues Maddie and Theo, and we're going to be talking about inclusive college programs for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So a quick recap of just who we are. We're graduate students with Cal State Long Beach. Theo and I are in the school psychology master's program, and then Maddie is in the special ed master's program. And all three of us are on the culturally responsive instruction and intervention and self-determination programs, also known as CRISP. And this is an OSEP funded grant led by Drs. Kelly Sanderson and Dr. Kristen Power. And Dr. Kelly Sanderson is joining us tonight as well. And this grant pretty much just looks to develop and implement culturally responsive self-determination intervention for K through 12 students with disabilities. And what we hope to cover tonight and give you a little more information on are just what are inclusive programs and what does that mean for your student and your family, and what can you do to pay for college? What does that look like, that process, how you can prepare your student, local programs and their kind of a description of each program and their application process, resources for you to take away with, and then we can open it up for Q&A if there's any questions at the end. So before I go into the kind of background of inclusive programs, this video is really a kind of a nice video to start with, just giving a background of what an inclusive program looks like. This comes from an inclusive college program in Colorado, and it's kind of one of their promotional videos. So it's just a little short one that we can watch. And then as it plays, if someone could just give me a thumbs up that you can hear it as we go.
A lot of high school teachers tell a lot of students with disabilities that they can't go to college because they have one, which is not true because we're people too.
I've always wanted to go to college ever since I was in high school. And after we had the interview, I was accepted. That changed my whole life forever.
So I found out teachers and the students, like, they've been really amazing here.
Personalized design classes to fit the students' needs.
The students persevere through challenges. We're really challenging them academically, for a lot of them, much more than they ever have been before.
I feel really independent because I have responsibilities of living on my own.
It's really good to get away from myself.
Students are living and hanging out amongst their peers. We have students in everything from Greek life to club sports. That's exactly what inclusion is about.
I was more worried about me being at home by myself. They have the support system if I need it.
College is a good thing to do, to make friends, to be independent. My whole family went to college. They want me to go to college.
But we have several students doing an internship or job placement, so not just a grocery store.
My goal for Casey is for her to live independently and have a job that she loves.
My dream is to work at Google.
I want to go into healthcare.
Be a teacher and be around kids.
There isn't a roadblock that I see out there for a student who truly wants to go to college.
Don't be afraid.
And work hard. Work really hard.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
A lot of
Okay, so now we'll go into the kind of the background of what inclusive college programs are and give you kind of that vocab, what you need to know, because you'll hear things come up in conversation. Pretty basic definition of what inclusive college programs are basically programs that provide access to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to post-secondary education. And then post-secondary education is just a more formal way to just say college. And what we hear a lot about when we talk about these programs is this term called IPSE, which is that IPSE acronym you see on your screen. And that stands for Inclusive Post-Secondary Education. So this is just another common term for these programs. So if you hear IPSE or IPSEs, it's just talking about those inclusive programs. And these programs really come from the creation of this Higher Education Opportunity Act, which was signed into law on August 14, 2008. And it really opened the door to students with intellectual disabilities to attend college. They created specific funds for institutions to either create programs or expand on them that they already had and make them high quality, inclusive post-secondary education programs for students with intellectual disabilities. So this act really just opened the door and made inclusive college education a priority and accessible. And then within that, we have another acronym that can kind of come up with this. It's called Comprehensive Transition Programs, or CTPs. And this is just a federal accreditation that a program can receive, just basically labeling them as a high quality access to college for students with an intellectual disability. And then the students in this program are eligible for federal student aid. And these programs can offer students degrees, certificates, or non-degree programs, which I'll elaborate on in the next slide. So what's really great is since this act has been implemented, there's over 300 programs in the United States that are focused on inclusive college education, and they can take place at public schools, private universities, community, and four-year-long colleges. We're not seeing too many programs come up in technical college locations, but that's probably something that's going to start expanding in the future as more programs continue to spread awareness and grow. The length of enrollment can range from anywhere between 1 to 4 years, and the number of students involved also depends on the program and what they offer. The program type is probably what most students are interested in, as basically what are the students receiving when they exit the program. So a general certificate would be something students can take to employers and say, I've received these skills and I'm ready to do these jobs. And that just gives employers the reassurance of, okay, you're ready to go and I can hire you. A non-degree would be more where programs can focus on individualized and tailored courses for students that can still give them their skills. They just wouldn't graduate with a physical certificate or anything like that. Workforce credentials are going to give students specific qualifications for specific jobs that they're seeking. So really more specific and narrowed. And the inclusion piece, which is super important, and the whole point of this, it offers wide range of inclusive opportunities for students. So they can be in classes with peers who have disabilities and don't have disabilities, just a mix, whatever is in your class. Dorm living, which is a really great place to get involved and connect with other students and peers. Be a part of clubs, rec centers, go to student unions, athletic events. There's the whole college experience is open, but the range of opportunities also depends on the program as well. So with program types, typically the programs structure themselves with age groups and a little bit of kind of qualifications, I guess, the student could have. So some students who are age 18 to 21 who are still in high school can go to certain programs. Other programs welcome students who are 18 to 21 who have left high school. And some programs look at accepting students who are 22 and up who have completed an adult transition program. And then going back to that inclusion part, like I said, it's kind of a range of inclusion and participation, just depending on what the program offers. Some programs are full inclusion, which means anything the student is involved in is completely immersed in the college campus life. Their classes, social events, independent living is completely surrounded with everyone else that's accessing the college as well. Partial inclusion means students are on the campus, but they participate in some or most classes, and they have experiences only with students with intellectual disabilities. What we see is most programs are a mix of full and partial. And it's not that these students get accepted into these programs and then just kind of experience college on their own. There's a lot of support and structure offered in these programs. It's very individualized. Program staff and peer mentors work really well together to help your student choose their classes, make their schedules, coordinate activities, find academic, social, and life skills that they want to improve on, and then help them get there. But it's all based on what your student wants and in communication and working with the program staff and peer mentors to say, I want to take this class. Okay, let's figure out how we can do that. Or I really like going to this club, like how can I get in there? So really driven by your student and what they want to get all the experiences that they need. And then lastly, on campuses, kind of separate, but maybe in cooperation with the programs, is the Disability Services Center, which is just a really good resource for anything related to needs, accommodations, services, representation. So that's another support that's already on campuses. And lastly, what you come out with from these programs, these vocational skills. So that person-centered planning is going to drive the choices that they make on the skills they want to learn for the job that they want. So a lot of programs have a really strong structure of the skills that they can help your student obtain and cultivate. So that way, when they exit the program, they're able to perform the job that they want. And so some vocational skills training includes supported job skills, navigating transportation on how to get to work, planning for work communication skills, meaning how do you talk to your boss? How can you interview? How does it look like working with colleagues and problem solving? Having those leadership skills and those self-advocacy skills as well. And again, person-centered planning to say your student will say, I'm interested in this job. And then that program staff and peer mentor will work with your student to find them opportunities like paid and unpaid internships, part-time or full-time work, volunteer opportunities, really like bolster their resume. So that way, when they leave, the goal is that they leave college with a paid job in a field that they're interested in. And then Theo is now going to talk about paying for college, the conversation that we all have to have, and give you a wide range of options that are available.
Okay, so fortunately, there are many options that you can use to help pay for your students' college. First up is the federal financial aid. The acronym over there says FAFSA, which stands for Free Application for Financial Student Aid. When filling out the FAFSA, the student will be considered for grants, including the Pell Grant and Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grants. Essentially, a grant is that if the student qualifies, they will be given money to help them pay for college, and the money should be dispersed soon, right before the semester starts. And if there are more funds than what the tuition is, then it will go straight into the student's bank account. Another option that is part of the financial student aid application is there should be a little box that asks, does the student want to be considered for work study? Work study is essentially when the student is given a job on campus and the college or university will set aside a pool of money for the student to be paid for when they work their job on campus. There are also scholarships. Again, these scholarships are they're free money. You don't have to pay them back. It's not part of the obligation contract. When there's scholarships are usually a good place to look for scholarships can be on the website of the university or college, but you can also search for these scholarships individually on your own. There are scholarships for students that have intellectual disability, autism, medical issues. It just takes a little bit of searching to find, but if you can't, whatever scholarships you can't find on the school's website, usually you can find by searching a little bit for yourself. There's also Medicaid. If the student is receiving Medicaid is offered in most states, and it can be used to help pay for the student's tuition. And finally, there are vocational rehabilitation funds. These are contingent on the student's eligibility in the university or program, and these funds can also be used to help pay for the student's tuition. Of interesting note, or something that you want to make note of, is that normally when students apply to the FAFSA, they may be offered loans. Students with intellectual disabilities are not considered for loans because it is unlike all of these other options that we have discussed. If the student gets a loan, they will have to pay it back with interest. So it's just something to note that students with intellectual disability are not considered for loans for paying for college. And now we will discuss how to prepare the student for college.
Okay, so my name's Maddie. Thanks for being here. When we think about preparing our students for college, we first want to have a discussion with the student about their dreams for the future. We really want to make sure, is college an option that the student is interested in? So the questions you see on the screen are just a starting point. The conversation is going to be different for every student and every family, but some good places to start with discussion about college could be, what are the students' hopes and dreams for the future? What are their fears. That's a important point to consider also. If the student could have any job as an adult, what would it be? In terms of their living situation, what did they envision for the future? And have they thought about college? What are their thoughts on college? If based on these discussion points, you determine with the student that college is an option we want to pursue, it's important to add this as a goal on their individual transition plan or ITP. And ITPs can start as early as 14 years old, but by 16 years old, a student in the public education system in California will need to have an ITP. So that ITP discussion must begin the first IEP meeting after the student's 16th birthday. So that's something important to consider. Okay, so based on these discussions, you've determined that college is a good option for the student. So how do we prepare? What skills do we want to foster in middle school and high school in order to get ready for college? We're pulling these skills from the College and Career Learning Plan, or CCLP, from thinkcollege.net. It is a PDF that is linked in the upper right-hand corner. So if you want to follow along, feel free to scan the QR code. Just a side note, if you are watching this recording at a later date, that QR code will not be live. So, but if you're in person with us here today, feel free to scan that QR code to follow along. So when we think about preparing for college, we want to look at academic and career habits. We want to think about fostering attendance and punctuality. Is the student able to arrive to class on time? Communication, is the student able to communicate their thoughts and feelings effectively and work well with others? Technological know-how, things like sending emails, initiating phone calls with people they might not know in order to access resources, operating like Microsoft Office applications, Google Sheets, things like this are important to start fostering in middle school and high school. In regards to cultural know-how, we want to try to foster commitment, flexible thinking. Is the student able to adapt to a new environment? This is something that's really going to come into play in college. And curiosity. Is the student able to ask questions, really pursue that academic curiosity? That's something that's going to come up in college as well. In terms of balancing multiple roles, we want to foster responsibility in the student. So is the student able to follow a weekly, daily schedule and complete the tasks on their schedule? Collaboration is a huge skill that is so important in college. There is a lot of group work. So is the student able to communicate with their group partners and contribute to the group projects? Independence, the student's going to be highly independent in college. As Julia mentioned, there is a lot of support provided in these programs, but at the same time, there are going to be a lot of moments where independence is really important as well. And then lastly, with self-direction, it's important that the student is able to anticipate their needs and then go ahead and advocate for those needs. So things like talking to the Disability Services Center, requesting accommodations, really vocalizing what their needs are. So all of these skills are going to be incredibly important when we think about preparing for college. Okay, so we talked about those skills pretty generally, but what does this preparation look like specifically? I'm pulling this from thinkcollege.net, the family resources section. If you want to follow along or learn more, feel free to scan the QR code. All of this and more is going to be there. So what can this preparation look like? One way we can realize this preparation is through creating IEP or ITP goals. So these are just examples, but an example of an IEP goal could be demonstrating increased independence and success in electronic communications through initiating phone calls and emails. Another example of an IEP goal could be increasing time skills and time sense through keeping and managing a calendar. And again, this is going to look totally different for every student and every family, but these are just examples. Another way we can specifically prepare for college is through suggestions from the Think College website. So letting the student take chances and make mistakes. That adaptability piece is so important in college. We're going to make mistakes. They're going to make mistakes. And are they able to really adapt and learn from those mistakes? Allowing the student voice and choice while they're in middle school and high school, being future focused. Some important strategies that are mentioned, and these are just two of many strategies that are listed on that website, but some strategies we're going to highlight is supporting the student in volunteering. This is an incredible way to build work experience, expose the student to a more formal professional environment, building that independence. So encouraging your child or your student to volunteer is a great strategy to prepare for college. And practicing using public transportation, another way to foster independence. Buses and other forms of public transportation are really ubiquitous on college campuses, so that's another great way to prepare. Okay, so we're going to go over a few different programs within the state of California. So the first program is here at Cal State Long Beach. It's called Think Beach. It is a brand new program. We are in the process of completing the pilot, and the program will start this fall, and we'll be accepting 4 students. A direct link to the application is in that QR code in the upper left-hand corner. So if you're curious, feel free to scan that. So how is the program structured? A cornerstone of the program is the student will be matched with peer mentors, and these peer mentors will be present to provide support, be there during workshops, during social activities, and that really goes to foster that relationship. Another important part of the program is weekly workshops on independent living skills. Just an example, workshops can be on hygiene, cooking, making friendships, things like this. And then the students will be enrolled in Cal State Long Beach courses alongside their peers. Some courses will be on nutrition, career readiness, and then as Julia mentioned, it really is person-centered. So we're going to consider your students' interests and work towards enrolling in courses in those areas. Additionally, in the program, vocational experiences are present: job shadowing, internships, volunteering, and it is a certificate program. The application process is simple. There's an application. Again, the direct link is in the QR code. We do require documentation of a disability, and then we require the student's IEP while they were enrolled in school. So this is just a little snapshot of what life is like in the Think Beach program. So as you can see, students are here with their mentors that are present during social situations. The students went bowling one time. And on the right-hand side, you'll see, again, those workshops are done weekly on various independent living skills. Here, the workshop was on cooking, learning how to cut food safely and properly. So there are tons more things going on, but this is just a little snapshot for you here today. Another great program is the Redwood Seed Scholars Program. This is through UC Davis. And if you're curious to learn more, their admissions page is linked in that QR code on the screen. So this program is for students in California with intellectual disabilities. They generally accept 12 students every fall. Similar structure, there are peer mentors. In this program, students are enrolled in both UC Davis courses and courses that are specific to the SEED Scholars Program. There's inclusion in campus residences, extracurricular activities, social activities, and this is a 4-year non-degree program. The application process requires documentation of a disability, among other things. So the next few programs, there's all a similar structure, so I'm not going to go too detailed into every slide, but I am going to mention the Wayfinders program at Fresno State. Their website is linked on that QR code. This program is for students with intellectual and or developmental disabilities aged 18 to 28. So it does have an upper age range compared to other programs. Students enroll in Fresno State courses, inclusion in residency and work experiences. It is a 2-year non-degree program, and the application process requires documentation of a disability, among other items. Pathways at UCLA Extension is a program with UCLA for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities aged 18 to 25 years old. Students are enrolled in both UCLA and UCLA Extension courses. With this program, there's an option to live in an inclusive residence or to commute. Internship experience is present in this program, and it is a non-degree program. The application, again, requires documentation of a disability, among other things, such as an interview. And we're going to wrap up by talking about the Cal State University Northridge Explorers Program. This program is for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities aged 18 to 28 years old. Again, students in this program, similar to the Think Beach program, are matched with peer mentors. The students enroll in 2 CSUN courses per semester. Inclusion in campus activities, work experience is present in the program, like internships, and it is a 2-year non-degree program. And the application is required along with documentation of a disability and other items. And lastly, we're going to talk about a few resources.
Okay. While I'm sharing my screen, I can't actually put these links in the chat, but I have them available. So once I stop sharing my screen at the end, I'll put them in the chat. The first resource that we want to share is Think College. And that's pretty much the one-stop shop of all things inclusive post-secondary education. They have great resources for your student to learn more, for you as a whole family to learn more. A lot of our information from this presentation was pulled from that just because they have a really good established knowledge on inclusive post-secondary education, research, resources. It's a really good hub to go to. The next one is the Think Beach at CSULB. That will be our website. So if you want to learn more about our upcoming program this fall, you can click that link and learn more about what we offer, see what our peer mentors look like, quotes. So that's another website to go to. And then lastly, Project 10 Transition Education Network is another. And Dr. Sanderson just put the Think Beach website in the chat. So you can check that out for our upcoming program. And lastly, like I was saying, Project 10 is similar to Think College in terms of just a resource for post-secondary inclusive college education. So